role of government, and taxation. I am Monique Atkins Cornwall. But before we continue, we're going to be doing two things. First, we're going to sanitize. Remember, we have to sanitize those hands 20 seconds. In through your fingers, get them right through your thumb and all. And after you're fully sanitized, then we're going to pray. Close your eyes. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, thank you for bringing us here together. Even though we are not in the physical classroom space, but you have brought us here so we can learn of your, not just your words, but of the curriculum that was set for us. Father, bring us through safely. Be with my students that they might understand what I have for them today, and that they might be as excited as I am. In your Son's name I pray. Amen. Now that we're through praying, if you look on the slide, you'll see, as I said before, that the topic is role of government in an economy, and we're going to zoom in on taxation. The objectives that are there were extracted from the CSEC syllabus for principles of business, and these are to state the purpose of taxation, to distinguish between direct and indirect taxes, describe the role, or rather forms of assistance offered by government to businesses, and distinguish social services provided by the government. Those are what we'll be going through today. Now, you might ask, what is taxation? Yes, of course, these are some terms that you should know based on the topic. You will be coming across these terminologies, so make a note of them. These terms you are supposed to know. You would have learned in previous classes about the different responsibilities that the government has in an economy, right? And this is just to refresh your memory. Good? This is not our focus, but this is just to refresh your memory, because our focus today is on taxation. What is taxation? Taxation is the main source of revenue for the government. Remember, we're talking about the roles of government in an economy. So taxation is the main source of revenue for the government. Good? But the question you're going to be asking me still, because it's not defined, what is taxation? And if you look, you can see taxation is the levying of taxes. What do I mean by levying? Levying means to charge or to impose. So you're charging or you're imposing taxes. That is the meaning of taxation. And then you might ask me, what are taxes? Of course, a tax is a compulsory payment made by individuals or corporations to government from which they get indirect benefits, right? That is taxes. Good? Moving right along, for any tax system to be successful, because of course, remember, we have taxation in which the government will earn their revenue through taxing us or imposing taxes on us. But for a tax system to be successful, what should there be? Now, here are they. For a tax system to be successful, it must be equitable. You might be asking me, but miss, what do you mean by equitable? You're using big words on me. No. Equitable means you're going to be distributing the tax, right, in a way that each person is able to pay. Good? I cannot pay taxes that I am unable to pay. I must be able to pay it. So the tax system must be equitable. It must also be economical. not wasteful, right? So you're going to be taxing persons, yes, but you're not going to be wasting that tax when you collect those funds. The system should also be certain in terms of you have accurate information as to how you're going to pay it, where you're going to pay it, why you're going to pay it, and when you're going to pay it, right? So the tax system must be certain. It must also be convenient to you. So the payment methods that are used to pay these taxes must be convenient to you. So if you're going to be going to the tax office to pay it, or you're going to be paying it online, because now we have a lot of online platforms, so you're going to be paying it online, or you're going to be going to the tax office, or you can pay it at any time that is suitable to you, the taxpayer. It is not determined when you pay it, good? But the time is suitable to you, the taxpayer. The system should also be flexible. And of course, flexible, easily changed based on the economic structure of a country. And of course, now, being that we have this pandemic going, of course, we see where the economy is changing. The tax system should be flexible. Good? It should allow for changes based on the economic structure at the time. You might be asking me, so what are the purposes of taxation? Why do we pay? What is the reason for all this tax? Now here, when you look on the slide, you can see some of these reasons. One of such reasons is to finance government expenditure. Of course, government spends money, but where do they get the money from to spend? Good? It's the taxes that are imposed on us that are used to pay or to facilitate government expenditure or finances. Good? That is one reason. The first one is to curb inflation by reducing the supply of money in the economy. Good, and to reduce the competition of local goods in order to protect pioneering and fledgling industries by taxing imported substitutes highly. And I don't know how many of you might go to the market with your parents. When you go to the market, you will have, say for instance, they're buying Irish potato or carrots or onions. There are normally imported onions as opposed to local onions. Of course, what the government is trying to do is to ensure that our local produce are relatively cheaper so we can purchase those. Good? So that is why we have taxation. The government will tax the imported produce so we are able to afford the local produce, and that will benefit us also. The other reason for taxation is to reduce the consumption of undesirable commodities. And you might ask me, Miss, what are undesirable commodities? But undesirable commodities are those that the government would rather we not consume. Of course, as it relates to cigarettes, there's a heavy tax on cigarettes because cigarette smoking is harmful to our health. Therefore, the government places a heavy tax on cigarettes to prevent us from smoking. Also, as it relates to alcohol, alcohol is not good for our systems, so the government places a high tax on alcohol to prevent us or to reduce the amount that we consume. That is to reduce the consumption of undesirable commodities, right? You understand, right? Good. The other reason for taxation is to lower unemployment by encouraging individuals to buy locally produced goods, thus encouraging linkage among sectors. So when there is taxation, good, it facilitates other persons to invest in the local market, so there is linkage among or between various industries. The other reason is to gain local control of economy by using taxes to give allowances for investment, by taxing reinvested profits at a cheaper rate. So those persons who come from overseas and decided, well, prime example, the Chinese, because there are a lot of wholesales that we know of are owned by the Chinese or the Syrians. They are taxes are imposed, yes, but the taxes are lower for them to encourage them to make employment for the local citizens here. The other reason is to improve the balance of payment position by taxing imported items highly in an effort to reduce imports. Good, and if there are less imports, of course, we are encouraged here to buy our local produce. And the other one is to achieve greater equality in the distribution of wealth and income by taxing the higher income earners so as to provide social services for the majority of the citizens. Of course, we might all be working. Good? All your parents should be working. Good? But the tax that they pay might be at different levels, and that is based on the level of work that they do. And while they are paying taxes working, in latter days they benefit from those taxes that they pay. You might ask me, of course, after seeing all these reasons for taxation or the purpose of taxation, you might be asking me a very pertinent question. Should we pay taxes? Then, of course, let's see. Should we pay taxes? I have for you a biblical reference to that question. Should we pay taxes? In Matthew 22, verses 15 to 22, the Pharisees, of course, asked Jesus a tough question. Good? They asked Jesus, is it against the law to pay taxes? And of course, you must imagine that must have been a tough question because Jesus wasn't a politician. Right? So they would want to trap Jesus in an instant like that. So he asked them, why are you asking me that? Do you want to trap me? Of course, he said to them, let me see the coin that you have. I need to see whose face is on it. When they gave him the coin and they looked, it was the face of Caesar, because at that time, Caesar was the emperor. And of course, Jesus' response was, well, then pay the taxes to the emperor, because the money, the face on the money is that of the emperor. So give him his money, it's his money, so give it to him. So give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God. And you can see where it is highlighted here on the slide. That is Jesus' response. So Jesus says to them, well then, pay the emperor what belongs to the emperor, and pay to God what belongs to God. And then now you might be asking me, but Miss, how God come into this? But of course, notice this is a biblical reference. Right? You're asking me what belongs to God. If we look in Leviticus 27 verse 30, it tells us that a tenth of the produce of the land, whether grain or fruit, is the Lord's. Therefore it is holy. Right? So of course, the laws of the land say that we're supposed to pay our taxes, and God is agreeing to that. However, a portion belongs to the Lord, right? So in paying our taxes, we should also return our tithe to the Lord. And our tithe is a tenth of our earnings, as we can see here in Leviticus. Proverbs 3 verse 9 also says, honor the Lord with your wealth and the first fruit of all your crops. And of course, it simply means a tenth of your earnings is holy and should be set aside for the Lord. You might be saying you're not earning. Yes, but you get an allowance. You get lunch money to come to school. So a tenth of that you should set aside for the Lord. That is your tithe. Good? There are different forms now of taxes. So of course, we would have returned our taxes to the government and would have given God what He says. But now I'm going to highlight to you that the forms of taxes that there are. There are 3 forms of taxes: the proportional, the progressive, and the regressive. Those are the 3 forms of taxes, and I'm going to be doing them one at a time with you. So the proportional tax. This is where each taxpayer pays the same proportion of his or her income in taxes. Therefore, the higher income earner will pay more overall taxes. Good? Notice the term proportion. Good? So proportional, and I'm going to go again. Proportional taxes where each taxpayer pays the same proportion of his or her income in taxes. Therefore, the higher income earner will pay more overall taxes. Good? So if I am earning $10,000 for my income rather, and John's parent is earning $200,000 as income. Good? And Jane, your mother is earning $150,000 income. Good? What will happen is that each of us will pay the same proportion in tax, even though the amount will be different. So if we all pay 1/3 of our income, notice we pay the same proportion, but the amount will be different, because when you work out those mathematical figures, 1/3 of my $100,000 would work out to be different from 1/3 of John's father's $200,000 and Jane's mother's $150,000. So we would end up paying the same proportion, which is the 1/3. However, the amount that we pay would be different, but the proportion is the same. Good? Good. The other form of tax is the progressive tax. And this is where the higher income earner pays a larger percentage of his or her income in taxes. And some of these terms you'd have heard them in math class, because you'd have known about percentage from mathematics. Good? So progressive tax is where the higher income earner pays a larger percentage of his or her income in taxes. This means that apart from paying a higher proportion, remember the proportion we did earlier, that would have been the 1/3. So apart from paying a higher proportion in taxes, the taxpayer will also pay more overall taxes. Good? So the first instance was where there was a higher proportion, now there's a higher percentage. Good? So if we are earning, again, I'm going to be using John's father with the $200,000 and Jane's mother with the $150,000, and of course, my salary will remain the $100,000. So if we are paying 20%, the percentage would work out different amounts, because the 20% of my $100,000 would be of a different value from the 20% of Jane's mother's $150,000 and John's father's $200,000. So notice they are earning a lot more than I am. Therefore, the amount that they would pay for taxes would be greater than what I would pay, right? And that is because of the progressive tax. The other form of tax that we see is the regressive tax. And if you look on this screen, the regressive tax is one for which the fraction of income used to pay decreases as income increases. So we see for the regressive tax now, this has a negative relationship. The regressive tax, as your income increase, the amount of your tax, the amount that you pay for tax decreases. All right? And this is as in relation to a fraction. So of course, again, my salary is at $100,000. John's father's salary at $200,000 and Jane's mother's salary at $150,000. In the regressive tax, if my salary should increase to $120,000, then the fraction of the tax that I was paying before would be decreased. Good? Because if the fraction that I was paying before was a third, then the amount would be the same. But the fact that my salary has increased, the amount will no longer be a third. Right? It would be a smaller fraction. Good? I hope you're understanding. If you're not understanding, please let me know. Now, those were the forms of taxes, and we are going to the types of taxes. And there are two types. Good? There are direct taxes and indirect taxes. And of course, just given the terms, you can pick up what these taxes are. So the direct taxes is the one in which the burden of the tax and the payment of the tax fall on the same individual. Right? So I earn the money and I pay the tax. So the money comes to me and I pay the tax to the government. That is the direct tax. Good? Direct taxation is associated with progressive taxation. And remember we said, remember what we said about progressive taxation, right? And this tax is usually applied to income and wealth or capital. Good? So if you have savings money in the bank or a house, those things are wealth. Good? So the direct taxes are applied to your income, your salary, your wages, and also what you own, your capital or your wealth. Some examples of these types of taxes are income tax. And of course, if it is tax on the income, of course, income tax. Income tax is a tax that is paid or imposed on an individual's gross salary. Good? Your gross salary or your gross earnings is what you would have earned. That is what you worked before any deductions. So your taxes are imposed on your gross salary. Those are for individuals, and that is called your income tax. Good? The other example of direct tax is the corporation tax. Notice the income tax is imposed on individuals. So I would pay income tax because it's paid from my salary. Good? John's father would pay income tax. Jane's mother would pay income tax because it's from our salaries. Good? If you don't have a salary, then you would not be paying income tax. Please note that. Good? And then corporation tax, those are paid by companies. So individuals, working individuals pay income tax, while corporation tax is paid by companies. So those companies that your parents would be working for, those companies would pay corporation tax, right? And the corporation tax would be calculated as a percentage of the company's profits. So when those companies make profits, and of course, remember now as business students, I normally say to you, you are supposed to be keeping abreast with the business news. Good? So of course, you'd have known or you'd have seen on the television some of these companies that would have been making profits. Those companies would be paying their corporation tax from the profits that they would have made, right? So working class persons pay income tax, companies pay corporation tax. Now the other example of direct tax is capital transfer tax, and another one is estate duties. And of course, these are paid upon the transfer of property. Good? So John's father, yes, working $200,000, but we're not focusing on his salary just now. But he owns a property in Stony Hill. Good? Also, he owns another property in St. Anne. However, he wants to give John the property in Stony Hill. Good? So what he wants to do is to remove his name from the title of the property in Stony Hill to John. Right? When he does that, he would have to pay a tax. So in order to transfer the ownership of the property, that is the transfer, the capital transfer tax that he would have to pay, and the estate duty tax. So that is for the capital transfer. Once you transfer property, then you pay a tax on the transfer. Good? There is also the capital gain tax. Notice we have capital transfer and capital gain. So the capital transfer tax that will be paid by John's father. Good? Because he will be the person who is transferring the property. The capital gain tax now is the increase in the value of assets. Good? So if it's a case where John's father was not transferring the property to John, but he was instead selling that property, on the sale of that property, he would pay a tax to the government. Good? Because he would now be having the physical money. He would not own the property anymore, but he would have the physical money. Therefore, he would pay money from the sale of that property. Good? So please note the difference between capital transfer and capital gain. Good? Because he's now gaining money from the sale of the property. That is why he's going to be paying tax on that property. The other type of tax that we have is the indirect taxes, right? So remember we said there were two types. There was the direct and the indirect type of taxation. Good? The indirect type of taxation, now this is where the burden and the payment of the tax fall on different individuals. Good? In the direct, what happens is that you have the funds or you have the money, you are the person or the asset, you are the person who will pay the tax. In the indirect taxation now, you are not the person who paid the tax or not the owner of the property pay the tax. So indirect taxation occurs when the burden and payment of the tax falls on different individuals, right? And you probably can think of something as it relates to that because you can probably think of corporation tax or probably even GCT. When we go shopping and we go to the supermarket and we look at our bills, of course we see down by the bottom GCT. Remember now, we pay the GCT to the company. So whichever company or supermarket or department store we go to and we see the GCT at the bottom, we give them the GCT in the form of our payment for the items. But then they will have to return that GCT to the government. So therefore, the burden and the payment of the tax falls on separate individuals. So yes, I give them the tax, but it is their responsibility now to give it to the government. Good? This tax is levied or paid. Remember the definition of the word levied? This tax is levied or imposed or charged or paid on goods and services as an individual, as is usually paid by manufacturers or importers who passes the cost to the consumer in the form of higher prices. Good? And there are some examples of indirect taxes. And of course, this list is not exhaustive because there are others. I'm just highlighting a few. An example of an indirect tax would be custom duties. Good? And custom duties is paid on goods that are entering a country. So for those of you or your parents who shop on Amazon or eBay or the other platforms, of course, whenever you order those items online and they're being shipped into the country, of course, you will notice on your bill custom duties. Now, that is the tax that is paid on the item or items that you are importing, that you're taking into the country. Good? So those are custom duties. We also have excise duties, and those are taxes that are paid on goods that are produced locally. Good? So whatever is produced in the country, so if desk, yes, your desk and chairs are manufactured here in the country, then an excise duty would be imposed on those. But if you purchased your phone or your laptop, yes, your tablet, if you purchase it online, then you would pay custom duty for those. Good? The other type of indirect tax, as I was explaining earlier, is the General Consumption Tax, GCT, and that is charged on retail sales. So once you go to the supermarket, you go to the wholesale, you go to the corner shop, you won't see it on your bill because you would not necessarily get a receipt from the corner shop. But of course, the taxes are also passed down to the corner shops as well. Good? So GCT is charged on any retail sale. Good? The other type or example rather of indirect tax is value-added tax. Yes, a term is there, ad valorem. In a sense, you don't need to pay that part in mind. Just focus on value-added tax, right? And those are tax imposed on goods or services at every stage of production. So, of course, if there's a production of your chair, good? At each stage of production, there is an added cost that is imposed. That is a tax, right? That is a tax. Good? So on the material that were bought to produce a chair, tax was paid. Good? When the added pieces were assembled together, tax was paid. And then now on the sale, tax is also paid. So at every stage of production, tax is paid. That is a value-added tax because there is an addition. Something else was added to that product. And once something was added to that product, then it will be considered value added, so therefore a tax would be imposed. Now I want for you to brainstorm, because I gave you a lot of information, right? I want for you to brainstorm. What do I want for you to brainstorm? The question is, do we benefit from taxation? Yes, Jane. Do you benefit from taxation? Yes. John, do you benefit from taxation? All right? So, yes, I benefit from taxation. Good? So, we all benefit from taxation. Now, I want for you to tell me, based on what we've discussed so far, I need for you to tell me, how do we benefit from taxation? Yes, write it down. How do we benefit from taxation? Now that you know what is taxation and the different types and forms of taxation, how do we benefit from taxation? And remember, earlier, you know, we did the reasons or the purpose of taxation. So you now tell me, how do we benefit from taxation? Good. So if you told me that we benefit in the form of businesses, so John's father's business would benefit from taxation, then you'd be correct. And if you tell me that we benefit as individuals as well, you'd also be correct. Yes, yes, very good, very good. So let me explain to you now, how do businesses benefit from taxation? Firstly, the government assists them. So of course, we all pay taxes or return our taxes to the government, and in return, we benefit. Good? So the government assistance to different forms of business. Government assists in putting together lending capital institutions. So if you want to be a business owner, of course, a small business, because you have to start small, you have to start somewhere, then there are different lending agencies that the government has to help you who want, and yeah, I remember you told me that you wanted to be an entrepreneur. This is where you benefit from taxation. So you want to be an entrepreneur, a business owner, and you are unable to start your business on your own simply because you don't have the money. The government has different lending capital institutions. One specific one is a Small Business Association. Good? They grant you a loan to start up your business, and then you will repay the loan afterwards. After you start making your profits, you repay the loan. That is one way how the government assists you as an entrepreneur, a business owner. Good? The other form of assistance that the government will give to you as an entrepreneur or a business owner is training agencies. So of course, you got the loan from their lending institution and you have started your business. But then now you want qualified workers. The government has put in place training agencies. Good? That will train those workers for you, and then you can hire them. They will add to your business. And some of the training agencies, yes, you want it, very good, Hard Trust NTA. So Hard Trust NTA is a training agency by the government. Good? So the Hard Trust NTA train workers so you can hire them. So it's a second way in which the government assists you, and that is because of taxation. Good? The other way in which government assists you, and again, remember you're not necessarily paying for these services now, is through technical assistance. Good? So of course the first one is through lending capital agencies and then training agencies. No technical assistance. You need some specified or some special training in a certain area. Some expert in certain area. Of course, the government will offer or assist you in those needs. So if you want a marketing officer, good, or a consultant, remember now you're a small business owner now, you know. Good? And in you being a small business owner, you might not have all the skills that you need. So the government will assist you in those technical areas. Good? The other way the government assists you as a business owner is through research and information centers. And of course, anywhere comes to mind? Yes, the Scientific Research Council, yes. So they carry out researches there, and those researches that they carry out assist us. Good? So of course, as a business owner, you got the financial boost that you need from the lending agency. Then you got the employees that you needed from the training agency. You got the technical assistance. Good? And the government carry out research that also benefit you as a business owner. Another thing that will benefit you as a business owner from the government is subsidies. So certain items that you will purchase, you will not pay the full price for it. The amount that you pay or the fee that you will pay will be reduced. Right? So that provides subsidies for you. Good? Even in terms of taxes, because even now as we go through this pandemic, yes, we know how it has been. Good? As we go through this pandemic, if you follow the information on the news, certain agencies or banking institutions, they are levying some of the costs that you will pay in terms of late payment as it relates to COVID, because they see what is happening now. Persons are unable to go out or to make payments as they normally do. So there is a subsidy. Good, and the government will help us to cushion that subsidy. There are also grants that the government will give us. Now the grant is that you will not repay them. These grants are gifts that are given to you by the government. And of course, we heard of some of those gifts that are being given now. Because the first case that we heard, when we got our first COVID case in Jamaica, and of course the government imposed the lockdown on Bull Bay, we heard or we saw on the television where the government issued care packages. Those are grants. So you don't pay for them. Those are gifts to you. You don't pay for them. Good? So those are grants that the government will offer businesses. So those are some ways that the government will assist businesses. And all of that are facilitated because we pay taxes. If we didn't pay taxes, remember, the government wouldn't have any money. So the taxes that we pay, the government would be able, is able rather, to use those to assist businesses. Now, those are assistance to businesses, but what about us? You and I, as customers, as individuals, as citizens, how do we benefit now? Yes, how do we benefit? Yes, I hear you're telling me them. Very, very good. Give yourself a pat. Very good. Now, we know as individuals benefit through social services provided by the government. Good? And some of these social services is healthcare. Again, I'm going to be using the pandemic because it's current. Good? So healthcare services, and this is to help to make us, as in the population, healthy. Notice that the government has imposed on us some rulings in order to prevent us from moving about. Good? And that's not because the government wants us to stay home. The government is trying to reduce the spread of this corona. Good? Because one of their roles is to protect us as citizens. So in protecting us as citizens, they help us in the healthcare. So they provide, especially now for those COVID patients, healthcare. For those who are who are unable to take care of themselves at home with the COVID, then they are placed in special facilities where they are cared for there. Good? So we benefit in terms of health care. The other way we benefit is through what is called National Insurance Scheme. And we normally hear our parents talk about NIS, right? Good. National Insurance Scheme. And this is the provision and security of the elderly. So, of course, when Jane's mother reaches a certain age and she retires, of course, she would not, because she's not working at the time, then she would not have an income. Now, this is where, notice we were paying taxes in our younger days while we were working, good? Now, when she retires, then the government is able to take care of her through the National Insurance Scheme. Remember, when you're working, you would have been paying income tax, remember? Good. So now this is our time to benefit. Now that we are not working, we are now elderlies. We benefit from whatever we were paying in terms of taxes, now as a National Insurance Scheme. Good? So notice it said it's a provision for the elderly. Good? So you see where, oh, nice. You see where we're benefiting now. Good? We also benefit through education. Education, for those of you whose fees are paid by the government, education is minimal for you. For some persons, it might be free. But it's minimal for you, right? Because the government cushions majority of that education fee as it relates to material, because you realize we are in the classroom now, right? Yes, and most of the resources that you would have been seeing here are very good, good. So, all right, good, good, good. All right? So, of course, education would be one of the benefits to us from the government based on our taxes. So, of course, you're not working, right? So you don't pay taxes. But your parents would have been paying those taxes. That is why you're able to benefit. Good. The other way you'd benefit now is through transportation and road. For some of you, your parents carry you to school, but there's road for them to drive on, right? For others of you, you will take the public transportation. Good? The bus drive on road, the taxi drive on road. Whichever way, there is transportation and there is road. Good? And this is all because of the government. And of course, when there's a 1 and 2 potholes or big holes, the government fixed those. Good? So that is all the government's working based on the taxes that we would have paid to the government. Good? So it's really our money the government using to do all of these. So if you don't pay your taxes, you definitely can't benefit. Good? So now you're seeing it coming together now, right? The importance of paying the taxes. Good. So for those of you whose parents might not want to pay taxes, when you go home, just kindly give them a nudge and remind them that when they pay taxes, you benefit. Good? Now, we went through today taxation, its definition, and of course, the different types and forms of taxes, and how we benefit from paying taxes, we as individuals as well as government businesses. Now, let me see what you learned. Based on what we did today, let me see what you would have learned. Take out your books for me. Take out your books. And this is what I want for you to do. The first thing I want for you to do, of course, yes, I don't want to be going on the road. So you're going to be using the resource that you have at home, because I want for you to keep your social distancing. Good? So the first thing I want for you to do, you're going to be conducting a survey within your household. Remember, you're not going outside. Good? So conduct a survey within your household to identify the different taxes that are paid by each member of your household. And remember, you're a part of your household, so you are supposed to be a part of it. So you list yours first. Good? So the taxes that you pay as an individual, and the tax that your mother pay, your father, whomever you live with, your mother, your father, your auntie, your grandmother, your uncle, whomever. Good? So you make a list of those taxes and put them in different categories. Good? That's one thing that I want for you to do. And then the other thing that I want for you to do is to state how each member of your household benefit from these taxes. Good? You got that? So the first thing you're going to be doing in your household, identify the types of taxes that are paid by each member of the household. After you've done that, then you're going to state how each member of your household benefit from the taxes. Good? That's easy, right? Yes. So what I want for you, you're going to do that for me. And the next time we meet, I need to see them. Good? Now I'm going to be thanking you very much. Thank you very much for tuning in today, for giving me so much of your time. You were very good students today. Yes, I got your undivided attention, and you were participating. Very good. Very good. Good? So do that for me, and the next time we meet, we're going to be going through them. Remember now, sanitize. Good. Remember 20 seconds. Get that sanitizer through those fingers or thumbs, around the back of your hands, everything. Good. Remember, keep safe. God loves you. And pay your taxes. Have a good day.